In this video, I'm going to show you what I eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Dr. Brooke Goldner's raw vegan diet. It is not the hyper-nourish, it's Goodbye Lupus, so everything is raw vegan, compliant to her rules. For breakfast, I'm making a berry pie filling with flax granola, which tastes like crumbled pie crust. I'm going to start with 1 cup of dark, sweet red cherries, frozen, 1 cup of frozen blueberries, 1/2 cup of frozen raspberries. And here's what it looks like. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for at least 24 hours so that it fully defrosts. The following morning, most of the prep is already done. And I'm going to start with 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm just going to tap that in there just to get as much as I can because I just love cinnamon. I've got 1/4 cup of ground flaxseed. Add that in there, and the flax is going to absorb the wonderful sweet liquid from the defrosted berries, and that will make it taste like a crumbled pie crust. I'm going to tap a little bit of cocoa powder on top just to give it a little bit of chocolate essence just to make it taste more like a dessert. And here it is. For lunch, I'm making flax sausage, some fresh salsa, and stuffed cabbage cups with guacamole. So I'm going to start with the crumbled flax sausage. I've got 4 tablespoons of level flax seeds, which equals 1/4 cup. And I'm going to add the seasoning so that I'm going to actually grind it first into a flour, but this seasonings is what it looks like. Will make it really taste like sausage. So I'm going to start with some salt, some smoked paprika to give it that smoky flavor, and then I'm going to use some garlic powder. I found that fresh garlic is just way too strong, so just a little bit of everything here. Some oregano, gotta have some herbs. These are dried herbs. I actually prefer the dried herbs than the fresh. And then a few dashes of chipotle. And then I'm going to end with onion powder. That is the final seasoning for this sausage. Let's mix it up, and then I'm going to eat this on a spoon with a few bites with the stuffed purple cabbage dinner that I'll show you how to make later. So next I'm going to start with my homemade fresh salsa. I'm going to use 1 cup of freshly washed grape tomatoes, and then I'll either use 1 tablespoon of lime juice from 1/4 lime or apple cider vinegar. I've got 1/4 of a red onion and 1/2 bunch of freshly washed cilantro. If I don't chop this up, it's just too thick. For seasonings, I've got some salt, 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon cumin, 1/2 teaspoon chili powder, a dash of chipotle. If you want it spicier, add a dash of cayenne, and then just blend it for a few seconds for some chunky salsa. Next up, I'm going to prep this stuffed purple cabbage with guacamole, and this is a purple cabbage, and I'm removing the outer leaves because these are not very fresh. They're limp and they just do not taste good at all. So anything that's not very crisp, get rid of. And I'm going to use about 1/2 of a purple cabbage, and I'm going to remove each section of these cups, or I can also call them chips. I'm going to fill each of these with the guacamole. I'm going to separate each one out, and some pieces are so thick, you'll see the white part, that it's just, you may have to cut that out because some pieces you can't even like bite and separate with your teeth, but most of them you can eat. You'll know when
make this for the first time. I hope you make this. These are really delicious. It's a really wonderful, easy Mexican dish, and my husband is super picky, and I had him try one of these, and I said, try my chips and dip, and he was like, oh yeah, that's really good. I'm going to cover this with a paper towel, the rest of it, because I'm not going to use it all right now, and then I'm going to put it back in the bag that it came in, put it back in the refrigerator in the crisper so that it stays nice and fresh. So I'm going to fill these with these smashed avocado cups I got from Costco, because right now the avocados in the store are pretty rotten and they taste terrible. So these are really delicious. They come in these little cups like there, and I usually use about 3 of these cups, and it's really not guacamole. This is really just the ingredients on these is salt and smashed avocado. It might have a little bit of lime juice, some of them, but just check the ingredients. They have different sizes and they all have different ingredients. So I make sure I cover the bottom completely with the avocado that's all nice and creamy and blended. And then I'm going to top it with the fresh salsa that I made. You can use store-bought, but I just love the freshness of this and the crunch, and I'm just gonna spread it evenly throughout, so every single bite is I'll have the salsa. All right, it's nice and crispy like a chip, and you'll crunch and literally finger licking good. This is super delicious. I make this all the time. For dinner, I'm going to make a cucumber noodle cruciferous salad with a banana flax cookie. For this salad, I found that 3 large pieces of kale is just perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm taking out the rib in the middle because that is too fibrous and it's really hard to digest and chew. So just removing that, and then I'm rolling it and doing a little chiffonade. So you don't want big pieces of kale because kale's very, very bitter, and there's different varieties, so just find ones that you like best. I really like the purple kale. I found that the ones that are green are really bitter and the purple is less bitter. The other ingredients that I'm adding will offset the bitterness of the kale, which is purple cabbage, cucumber, and carrot. So for this salad, I'm gonna have about, I'd say, a half of a purple cabbage. The green cabbage I found to be very bitter unless you cook it, but the purple cabbage is very sweet. So I usually use about a half of a small purple cabbage. So it's really best if I put this in a food processor and just make it very thin slices, but that kind of takes too much time to clean it and get it out. So I'm just going to, I typically just slice it right here, and the thinner you slice it, the better it's going to taste. It'll taste sweeter, and the purple cabbage really crunchy, which is a nice texture combination when you compare it to the soft kind of flimsy texture of the kale. So I'm going to get rid of the core, and the part in the middle that's really white, I get rid of that. And the next ingredient I'm going to add is English cucumbers, and it's much better, much sweeter, much firmer than just regular cucumbers. And I do want to remove the skin, of course the plastic, and get rid of the ends, because I'm going to make this into noodles. So I'm going to make this not into zoodles, which is zucchini noodles, but I'm going to make them into koodles, cucumber noodles. So, and I definitely wash it. Of course, the cucumber and the carrot. I'm just going to put the carrot aside for right now. So I'm going to peel this, and then you'll notice that the English cucumbers are much larger than the other cucumbers in the store, and get rid of any of the bitter peel. And then I'm going to cut this into thirds, and that will make it easier when I make them into noodles. And also, the noodles are too big, so this way if I'm already cutting into thirds, there will be a really nice size. All right, and cut off any spots that are just a little too soft, which may be overripe. So there you go, about 3 of each of these. And I'm going to go ahead and peel the carrot. Get rid of the tough outer layer of the carrot. And the thicker, the wider the carrot, the easier it's going to be when you put it into the little machine that you're using to make the noodles. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to slice that into thirds, but I'm going to try to cut it where the thickness is even. Now this carrot is a little bit too thin, but I'm going to show you right here the machine that I use to make the noodles, and I'm showing this I usually do it on the right side, I'm showing it on the left side, so I'm a little awkward. I was just doing it this way to film it so that you could see it a little better. And this middle part that looks like a mushroom, I'm going to show it to you here. Yeah, it tastes really gross. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my recycle bin. And so when I make these cucumber noodles, I know that I have 6 of them because I've got 2 cucumbers, and so I've got 6 pieces. And I try to remember to count when I'm making them because sometimes I forget and then I have a big chunk. So I'm like, all right, I'm on number 3. So today I'm just gonna make a really small salad, but my salads are really huge, and it's best to pick up 2 of the cucumbers. All right, there's another little mushroom, and I'm gonna do cucumber noodles on the 3rd one. And you'll see I'm pulling the little noodles out of the machine, otherwise they're going to be wasted and fall on the counter. And make sure I'm centering that so that it doesn't slip and fall. All right, so now put all the noodles in there. Get rid of that 3rd mushroom. All right, so now I'm gonna move on to the carrot, and you'll see that even this large piece, it doesn't make noodles very easy. And it's quite an arm workout to do the carrots because carrots are really firm, but it lends a wonderful crunch and sweetness. It's kind of like the icing on a cake where it's like, it just makes it really delicious. So definitely don't forget the carrot, because sometimes I forget the carrot, and I'm showing you here how it's a little bit more difficult because this carrot is just too narrow. It really needed to be wider. So what happens when I don't have thick carrots, because they not always thick enough, I'm just going to slice them. So I'm showing you what sometimes happens is that when I'm trying to make the carrots into noodles, the inside kind of gets all mushed, and so I have to cut that part off and start over. Here you go. So now you can see the noodles. And it's funny because when I've tasted carrots by themselves, they're not sweet, but when I add them to this salad with the contrasting flavors of the bitter and the carrot actually tastes so much sweeter. So because I couldn't fit the rest of it in the little zoodle machine, I'm slicing the carrot very thinly, and that will, for some reason, it just tastes much sweeter when I do this. So I'm going to toss it all together and make sure not to forget any big pieces, and usually I end up eating some of it while I am making this massive salad. And I eat this every single day, and this is about a pound of cruciferous vegetables, and the cruciferous in this dish is the purple cabbage and the kale. All right, so got my big fork, and I'm just gonna combine all the different vegetables in here. And I do not use a dressing. Sometimes I'll add fruit to make it a little bit sweeter, but I kind of like it just as is. If I do add fruit, my favorite go-tos for the salad are sliced oranges or those little tangerine segments, which are really good. I also like chopped apple, and I don't remove the skin. The very sweet apples, the Fujis, are really delicious. And I don't really like the green apples, are a little too tart. Or the other thing I like to add with the salad is pear when in season. So now you're thinking, okay, what are you doing? So I am making a little banana flax cookie, because you gotta have a little bit of fat with your salad to help absorb the nutrients. So what I've got here is 4 level tablespoons of flax seeds, and I prefer the flax over the chia. For some reason my body just doesn't really like chia too much, so I am grinding them in my coffee grinder. And yeah, I'm really giving it a nice little shake and pulse, because if I don't do it at least that long, it won't become this wonderful powder that I have here. And if you don't grind it well enough, then you'll get these really crunchy seeds that won't digest properly. They'll just go right through you. So what I add to this is 2 inches of ripe banana. And the first time you do this, I recommend grabbing your ruler and measuring out 2 inches, because if I add too much banana, it just becomes a little bit mushy, because flax is really high in fat. Of course, it's the good fats, the omega-3 fats, but it will, when I smash it, the fats will release. So what I'm doing is I'm smashing the banana with the tines of the fork into the flax seeds. Oops, I forgot the cinnamon. Oh, cinnamon just makes this a wonderful dessert. So being very careful not to make a mess, and just really smashing that in there. So I've got really strong forearms and a wrist from doing this. And this is it's kind of like a wonderful dessert. So it tastes like a cinnamon banana cookie. And after you're done smashing this, you could just eat it, like kind of in little pieces. But I'm going to show you how I make this into a little cookie after I'm smashing it. And I'll know when to make that into a little ball when it all comes to stick together. And you'll see that the pieces start to clump into large clumps. And if you keep doing this, it will form into a ball. And it does take a little bit of time, but you see, look how it's coming together really nicely, kind of like when you're making a batter. So that's really what I'm making right now. And I'm almost done. So I'm doing this in real time so you can see how long it takes. And it's better to use a little less banana than too much. All right, there is my little cookie. I'm gonna form it into a ball with my hands and flatten it. It's actually better to let it sit out a little bit to dry out. All right, time to test it. Yum, so good. It's really sweet with a tiny bit of a crunch. So this is what the flax cookies look like, and this is my salad. That's how big it is, and it's so big. It takes about 45 minutes for me to eat. So are you going to make this salad? Let me know in the comments below.
You may be interested in watching is the conditions that I reversed on Dr. Brooke Goldner's protocol with before and after photos. So let me know if you have any questions.